as all of those conversations went away. But the truth of the matter is, they didn't really go away. It just wasn't relevant to me anymore, so I filtered everything out. When you're in the process of buying a new phone, don't you all of a sudden start seeing phone advertisements everywhere? Or if you're thinking about buying a new car, all of a sudden Audi's there, and BMW's there, and Toyota's there, and the minute you buy your new car, you don't notice that stuff anymore. We do that purposely because our minds are finite. We have an attention deficit. And there are 5,000 marketing messages happening and targeted towards you and I every single day. Our lives are unpredictable. And by the way, this is if you're taking notes, I highly recommend you write this down. In order for customers to believe what you're saying, they need to see it, hear it, or interact with it 3 to 5 times. So if you're launching a new company, you're launching a new product, you're trying to reposition your brand, all those different big circles where it says earned media, owned media, traditional media, all of those have to tell the same story. If you want to reach them, you've got to hit them with multiple messages, multiple touch points, and that consistency in your storytelling has to deliver the same message. So we have a content surplus, attention deficit, consumers' lives are unpredictable. Let's throw something else in the mix. Everyone is influential. About a year and a half ago, I bought a teacup Yorkie. His name is Bailey. He's my son. He's the only one at home that listens to me, actually. I'm surrounded by women at home. And my wife, you know. So I bought Bailey, and we were planning a trip to go to Tucson to see my mom. So what I did was I Googled airline, dog-friendly airlines. I want to know what airline I can trust to take my little 4-pound puppy on to visit my mom. I couldn't find anything. So a friend of mine sends me a message, and this guy, he's not very influential. He doesn't even really use Facebook much. He sent me a private message on Facebook. He says, hey, don't fly this airline because they did this. So we had this huge conversation through private messages on Facebook. Then I shared a status update on Facebook, and I said, has anyone ever flew Delta? Has anyone had a problem with Delta? And many people were like, yeah, they suck, they're horrible. Then another friend of mine sent me a link to a report that was put out by the Department of Transportation. And in 2011, there were 35 animal-related deaths in the U.S. collectively on all airlines in the U.S. 35. 19 of those deaths happened on Delta. Do you think that I flew Delta? I'll probably never fly Delta, even without my car. That is ingrained in my mind. And I was influenced to purchase, to not make a purchase or to not use a brand based on what people around me were saying. Does that happen to any of us? Somebody walks in with a new HTC and shows you all the great things, and like, look at it, and then you're like, oh, my iPhone contract is expiring, I may switch to Android. It happens every single day. Go to your Facebook updates, your newsfeed. How many people say, oh, I'm in the market for a new laptop, which kind should I get? And then people are chiming in. Or I'm thinking about getting a new car, or I'm thinking about going to Hawaii, which island should I go to? People are chiming in. They are influencing your decisions every single day to either A, buy, or not buy. Now, when you guys go hit the real world and start working in large companies, you're still going to be held accountable for your business objectives, right? If you're in marketing, how many marketing people are in here? Raise your hand again. So if you're in marketing, you're going to have, you may have customer acquisition goals, right? So you may be held accountable to download X number of white papers or to drive a certain amount of e-commerce sales. And if you're in PR, you're going to be held accountable for a certain number of messages or media hits or whatnot. And in some cases, if you work for a smaller startup, you may be held accountable for stock price. So companies need to adapt because the market is not going to adapt for you. And that's why you start thinking like a media company. Let me talk about 5 quick characteristics of what media companies provide. Number 1, they are content engines. I tell clients, how many of you are blogs, like Tumblr or something like that? A little bit? Okay. So I tell my clients they need to be blogging every single day. That's not easy to do in large. I'm consulting with a company called NATE. They're a Canadian trade school called the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. And they're kind of an equivalent IT here in the US. And they're struggling with this. They want to produce content every single day. They just don't have enough people to do it. So content, number two, relevant. When I flew from, I was flying to New York when the Boston Massacre happened a couple weeks ago. And the first thing I did when I checked my phone, I saw people saying, oh, I feel bad for people in Boston. I had no idea what happened. So what did I do? I went to Google, my friend Siri, what happened in Boston. It took me to Google. And I found content from Boston.com, from CNN, from media companies about what was happening in Boston right now. So they produce relevant content. It's also recent, and in some cases, it's real time. Real-time marketing is kind of the next big thing. You should read up on that, especially as you start interviewing or doing internships wherever. Real-time marketing is kind of that next big on top of what social media has become. Number four, omnipresent. What does that mean? That's the question.
Google.
Everywhere. Omnipresent, right? This content, your brand, your message being everywhere. So going back to that one slide that I was showing you, all these different touch points, when consumers are going through their daily lives, your content should be everywhere. Google, Facebook, Twitter. Now there's caveats to that, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, the last one is agile. In most companies, I used to work for Intel. Anyone know what Intel is? They make processors. It's a manufacturing company, billion-dollar company, 100,000 employees. And we were engaging, I managed social media for them, we were engaging with customers. We decided to make 100 t-shirts for our customers. And working in a large company, do you know how long it took us just to get approval and then get t-shirts made and sent to these customers? 6 months. So media companies are agile, they just move quickly. They have designers, and by the way, for those in visual arts, who's in visual arts? Okay, you guys are a hot commodity in this space right now. And not just for creating brochures, and not just for creating websites. If you go to the PayPal page, anybody use PayPal? They're a client. Go to their page on Facebook. All that content is built in illustrators and cool graphics and illustrations specifically for that audience. Visual designers, visual storytelling in general is, if you're a brand and you're not posting photos or imagery with every status update, you're missing an opportunity. Because when we go to our feed, what do we notice? We notice photos, we notice videos, or we notice that person who keeps changing their relationship status every week. Irritating. Okay. What was that? That was me. Okay, so these are the characters of a media company. Let's talk about, the book that I wrote really is about social business strategy. Now, this may seem boring to some of you, and I don't know, but some of these buzzwords could help you get opportunities in interviews. When you think about social business strategy, it's not necessarily a communication strategy. It's an infrastructure. So that if I'm working in corporate communications or marketing, or I'm a designer and I'm responsible for tweeting for a brand like Coca-Cola, and all of a sudden the customer says, well, you know what? I tried to buy Coca-Cola from your website and I never got my product and I want a refund. Now who do you have to get involved in order to help that customer? Can you do it as a designer? Can you do it as a marketing person? No, you have to talk to customer support. So you have to build that communication channel so that when customer support issues come into a Facebook page, because I guarantee you they will, if you go to the PayPal page, it's funny, they're a client, whenever you post like this cool artwork, if you read the comments, everybody's like, you guys suck, if you guys are doing this and doing that, and I want a refund, you took more than 3%. It's all customer service related information. Can you guys read that? Or is it too light? All right, let me read it. A social business strategy helps evolve the thinking and preparedness of an organization, bridging internally what you're doing as a brand, and externally what you're doing from a social media perspective, resulting in collaborative connections, processes, and shared value for all stakeholders. Who are your stakeholders in the brand? Customers? Who else? Prospects? Who else? evangelists, employees. If you work for a B2B company, you know, everyone in your supply chain, those are all stakeholders. Now, this may seem a little confusing, but it actually makes perfect sense. Because if your brand is right there in the middle, and let's focus on this part here. If your brand is in the middle, and you're thinking about your external customers, how do your customers provide value to your brand?